I know this is a very sensitive subject on the internet, on Lady Gaga's internet, but I simply have to tell you the truth. I don't own any Haus Labs products. Hey, welcome to my video. If you're from my Instagram, I love you, and if you're not from my Instagram, love you all the same. So this is not a drill, people. Mother Monster is in the house. So Lady Gaga did a makeup video for Sephora's YouTube channel, where she obviously did her makeup, but she also gave us a lot of interesting hacks, tips, and tricks that she does when she does her beat, and I, for one, am very excited to try them here today. Honestly, I'm mostly excited to see how the whole look will turn out, so without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so let me just push my hair back first of all, and then we can get started. Okay, and that's that. But before we begin, a little disclaimer. She used all Haus Labs products, obviously, which is cool.
I would love to own Haus Labs. One day I need at least the foundation. Okay, I'm very curious about it.
But I am from a tiny country where we literally do not have a Sephora, and we have one MAC store in the entire country. So it's very hard for me to get anything Haus Labs. So I don't have any of that today, but I do have products similar to what she used. So that's what I'm gonna be using. And we're gonna begin with concealer. Okay, so she was not shy with the concealer, which, let me tell you, I love. Obviously, I love everybody, and everybody should apply makeup as they want to, but I love that Mother was not shy with the concealer. So she just literally, quite literally, applied it all over her eyes, first of all. And for this, I'm using the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. And for the rest of my face, I'm gonna use the Estee Lauder Concealer, the Double Wear, of course. And I'm just gonna apply it anywhere where I see any type of redness or blemishes. Okay, let's pause here and just look at me. Who is this girl I see staring straight back at me? I don't know, but I might end up loving it. So I'm also gonna apply some concealer on areas that I want to brighten. Okay, and that's that with the concealer. Do you love how I said that's that as if I didn't literally apply about half a pound? Anyway, she uses a brush to blend it all into her face. I'm using the MAC 217 here to do that. I don't particularly like this method. I love blending out concealer with my fingers. She goes in with her fingers afterwards, which is what I'm gonna do as well, but for right now, this is what it is. Okay, now Mother did not do this, but I need to. A little trick: if your concealer completely dries down and isn't blendable anymore, just take some setting spray, spray it onto your face, and this will reactivate the concealer so it's blendable again. So I'm just gonna blend it. Blending under eye concealer with anything except a finger honestly feels like a crime to me, but I am gonna commit this crime for Lady Gaga, of course. But you know what? Now that I am blending it, it does look kind of good. So let me not speak anymore. So now I'm just gonna take my fingers like she did and just sort of blend that in even more. And this is how that looks. Honestly, she did say that it would brighten up the face, and you know what? It did. So let's move on. Okay, so now she uses the Haus Labs foundation and applies it with a brush like I'm doing here. Only I'm using Maybelline Fit Me. Right, so now she just blends it in with the brush as well, which to me is honestly painful. I love using beauty sponges for my complexion, and I haven't used a brush probably since, like, I don't know, 2015. Now, what's interesting to me here is that she did not use any primer, which is fair enough, except I at least wish I used some pore blurring primer on my nose. But you know what? We can't have it all. I also low-key forgot how to like blend foundation out with the brush. I started using it like a beauty blender. Girl, this whole video is already a mess. So I'm just gonna use a tiny bit more around my jawline and my neck. And I hopefully won't dip my earrings into this foundation in the process. But you know what? More often than not, that's exactly what ends up happening. So she also ended up using whatever was left over on the brush just on her eyes. And that's that. Okay, and you know what? Honestly, so far this process reminded me why I don't blend out with a brush, because my skin is simply too textured to do that. And that's all I'll say about that. Now I'm moving on to bronzer, and she said that she takes her bronzer and applies it in sort of a straight line first towards the nose. I don't know what that means. Is it giving this? I don't know. I guess we'll see. also she applies it quite far in, so I'm gonna do that today. And then she said she drags it down and blends it out. So in Lady Gaga we trust. I'm now just gonna do this side as well. So she also sculpts her jawline and her chin, which for me is much needed, so I appreciate this. Right, now I'm done. I would also normally add my forehead and my temples. She did not do that, so I'm not gonna do that this time around either. What we're gonna move on to now though is blush, and we're gonna make our own blush shade. Doesn't that sound like so much fun? Okay, so I'm just mixing it on my hand here, but she did take a sort of dark peachy toned blush and some stark white pigment. I honestly use P. Louise for any type of pigments like this. I'm just gonna mix it on my hand. I think I used a little bit too much white, or maybe I didn't. Ooh, this is turning out to be a really pale pinky shade. Right, so this is what that ended up looking like. Very pretty. I'm now just gonna take it and I'm mostly placing it on the apples of my cheeks like Lady Gaga did. This is beautiful. I am also gonna drag it towards my hairline a little bit, but it's gonna be mostly focused on the apples of the cheeks. Ooh, one thing I forgot to do though is take the stark white pigment just by itself on my finger here and apply it on the high points of my face, sort of like a highlighter. This, when I saw her do this, I was like, you know what, low-key, that is genius. And I never do this, but I see why she would. And so I'm gonna do it on this side. I forgot on the other side, but it's fine. It'll serve as a little experiment to see just how much of a difference this makes. My pigment sort of moved around my foundation in this area just a little bit. It didn't when I mixed it in with the blush. I don't know if her pigment did that as well, but mine is looking kind of wonky, but we will place the blush over top and it'll be great. Once again, welcome to another video of me falling in love with blush all over again for like 10 minutes straight. She didn't put a lot on, and if you know me or if you watched this channel even just once, you will know that I am sort of a lunatic when it comes to blush. So sometimes I need to be reminded that it's okay to stop. And I think now might be one of those times. Let me put down the hand, girl, and stop blending. We are now entering highlighter territory, which means I can't get too excited, but she used a peachy sort of highlight for this. I'm using Wet n Wild Precious Petals, and she just applied it to the high points of her cheeks first. Then she applied some down her nose. Oh, this is gonna leave a streak, I think. Wait, let me blend this out a bit. I'm just using whatever's left over on the brush to do so. She also applied some on her chin, which I love and should start doing more of, on her cupid's bow, and also some underneath the brow bone. Now, I would do this as well, except I would use a brush for more precision, but she used her fingers. So that looks pretty good, except I am a little streaky with the highlighter here, but that's the highlighter's fault, not Lady Gaga's. But it'll all come together in the end, I promise. Can I promise that actually? Never mind. Forget you heard anything. Okay, so now she used the pale sort of pinkish highlighter as blush, and I'm actually gonna use a pale pink blush. This is by The Balm, and I use it quite often, but this time I'm gonna use the lighter shade and just go over my blush. Okay, cute. I look alive once more. So now she used a brush and applied some pigment, a beige type of pigment, as eye primer. And I'm using the P. Louise primer here, but I'm just gonna apply a very, very thin layer of it on my eye. Nothing like I normally would. Normally I put about 2 pounds of this on each eye, but today we're gonna go light. Welcome to 10 minutes of me learning that I would benefit from using less makeup instead of caking it on. It is a lesson that I will learn today and apply it never. So now I'm just dipping back into the same bronzer that I used thus far and my 217 brush, the same brush I used for concealer. And I'm just sort of applying the bronzer in my crease. So this seems like a good first layer. She did pat it up to her eyebrow almost in sort of like a cut crease shape. Okay, so that's sort of what that looks like. Now I'm going for the same look on the other eye. Now, whether or not I'm gonna achieve it is a whole nother story. To balance it out, I'm also gonna apply some on the very outer corner of my moving lid. So now we're going back to the pigments, and she used sort of like a chocolatey brown pigment, and that's what I'm gonna use as well. I just put it on my hand and I'm now placing it on the brush. And she sort of put that on the very outer corner of her eye at first. That's where she focused most of that pigment. So of course, same thing on the other eye. Okay, so same brush. I'm dipping into a sort of shimmery chocolatey type of shade. And for me, that's shade Eager from the Be Perfect Aspire palette. And now I'm packing most of that onto the outer corner like this. But I am using whatever's left on the brush and sort of sweeping it all over my moving lid. And Lady Gaga used a pigment for this as well, but I don't have like a metallic shimmery pigment, so I'm just using an eyeshadow, but it still looks really cool. So now I'm just gonna take my finger and pop a gold sort of bronze shade in the middle of my lid. And this is shade Pursue from that same palette. Right, so now she used the same concealer that she used on her under eyes to clean up the edges, which I would normally do, except I would not apply it as she did with the tip of the brush exactly, but I'm gonna do so today, honey. Now I'm gonna take the same brush that I used to apply my eyeshadow base with and just blend that in, I guess. Oof, this is a lot of concealer. Okay, so that is now a pretty straight line. I like this, not bad. Same thing on this eye. You know what? It really is a good thing that I am using Shape Tape for this because it is super full coverage and it is gonna clean up pretty much anything. I'm satisfied. Now I'm gonna move on to cat liner. So for this, she used a lip pencil, and honestly, by sheer coincidence, so am I. This is a Gerard Cosmetics lip pencil, and I'm just applying this on my waterline first of all, and then I am extending that into a sort of cat eye shape. So now I'm taking a small detailed brush and I'm blending that out ever so slightly. Listen, this pencil pretty much blends itself, so this is great. So now she just cleaned up a little bit more with whatever was left over on the brush she used earlier. Now that's gonna go in the waterline as well, and I'm gonna line pretty much my entire lower lash line with this. I would normally stop at about the middle because I just like that sort of shape for me, but Gaga didn't, so I'm just following her lead. She also just went into the very inner corner of her eye and created this sort of like teardrop shape right here. And I don't know how I feel about that. I guess we'll see. So now I'm taking the same brush as before and just lightly, very carefully blending that a little bit. That's done. I don't know how I feel about it. This isn't the look that I normally go for. It's very bottom lash heavy. Maybe when I put on mascara, it'll like balance everything out. So let me go do that. Right, I'm back and the mascara is on. Did it balance things out? Yes, I think it did. Do I like this look now? I don't know, I'm not sure. Just because it's not my vibe to line my whole entire eye, but you know what, to be perfectly honest, girl, my toxic trait is saying, ooh, I don't know if I'm feeling this look, and then as soon as I stop recording, I look at myself for real, and start feeling myself so hard that I don't want to take it off for like 23 hours. So that's probably gonna happen here as well. Anyways, this pretty much concludes the eye look. Now I'm just gonna use some setting powder, and this is the lovely Bee Bread powder, and I'm just, I don't know, setting my face, all over my face pretty much, but very lightly though. Right, so now the lip, and I'm done. So I'm gonna use the same lip liner that I used on my eyes for my lips, and I am gonna overline very slightly, sort of like that. And now I'm gonna use a sort of orangish lip gloss on top. I unfortunately have no idea what this is, the label rubbed off. And that concludes my look. Let me take out my hair to show you the full fantasy and we can discuss. Ooh, okay, you know what I said before? As soon as I stop recording, I look at myself for real, and start feeling myself so hard that I don't want to take it off for like 23 hours. Yeah, I'm already starting to feel this look. And I think what it comes down to is that honestly, the whole thing does not come together up until about 5 seconds before you're finished. And that's just the truth. So, okay, listen. This is a very pretty sort of like fall look. I actually love the color palette and I'm not mad at the eyes either. Is it different than what I personally normally do on a daily basis? Yes. Do I like it? Also, yes. I think that if I added some falsies on top of this, it would honestly balance it out even more and look even prettier, but I have nowhere to go right now, so I have no business gluing on false eyelashes to my eyes. So it's gonna stay like this. Maybe I'll like go to my local grocery store just so I don't have to wipe this off immediately, but yeah, I honestly kind of love it. Big shout out to the blush hack because I'm gonna be using that for sure. And otherwise, you know what? Honestly, my base looks pretty good as well in person. I don't know how it looks on camera, but in person, it looks pretty good. Yeah, just caught a little glimpse of myself in the viewfinder and I look ghostly pale. But you know what? Honestly, it is Morticia Addams season, so that seems appropriate. Anyways, final thoughts. I really like this makeup look. When you do it exactly how Lady Gaga did it, it looks pretty amazing. And also, she did have some pretty cute tips in there. So overall, 10 10 10s across the board. I'm very satisfied. But yeah, anyways, I'm gonna go now, buy like some produce or something, and I'll talk to you guys at a later time. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you liked it, then please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!